Every time we tell a story, no matter how much detail we put into it, it will inevitably be filtered through the lens of our own experience. We may imagine a bustling market, but to our audience, it could feel like the marketplace of their own memories. I'm not saying that objectivity is impossible. I am just saying that writing about another time and place means absorbing yourself in that time and place as best you can. Research is the key to that absorption, but so are daydreams. I grew up surrounded by Victorian architecture, and I used to spend hours imagining what life must have been like here. Now, living in the digital age, we can take that exploration even further. History websites, YouTube channels, museums and archives, they're all just a click away. So when you need a little extra inspiration for your stories, why not take a tour through the past? Let's go back to the beginning. The first thing you might want to explore is your setting itself. When I teach creative writing, I often focus on the senses to bring places to life. How does the air smell here? What kinds of shadows stretch across the floor? How does light filter through the trees? But when we're talking about historical fiction, we can engage a whole new sense, the sense of sound. Take this house, for instance. Listen closely. Can you hear those footsteps echoing on the stairs? When you visit a historic house, you can listen to recordings that bring the past to life, or better yet, use your imagination to fill in the blanks. Imagine you're walking through an ancient Egyptian tomb. What do you hear? The flapping of bats, perhaps? Or maybe the whisper of wind through a crack in the wall. These audio elements are all part of creating a rich, immersive experience for your reader. But let's say you don't have access to a time machine, or maybe your budget doesn't allow for tours of Europe or a trip to Egypt. You can still bring history to life through the objects around you. I'll give you an example from my own life. For my most recent book, I needed to write about a 19th century British workhouse. I researched the period through books and online resources, but I also visited an antique shop where I found a small collection of vintage toys. As I examined these forgotten playthings, I imagined the children who had owned them, how they would have played with hoops and jacks during long dark winters, how their laughter would have echoed through the workhouse wards. Collecting historical artifacts isn't just a fun way to connect with the past. It's a great source of character inspiration. A worn leather journal left on a park bench, a faded photograph tucked into a book. All of these items can spark ideas for characters and storylines. And if you don't have space for collections of your own, you can always visit a local museum. The trick is to examine the objects closely, to let your imagination fill in the gaps between the past and the present. Who owned this necklace? Why did they choose to leave it behind? What kind of life did this child lead? Asking questions like these will help you transform static objects into dynamic characters. As writers, we often get lost in our own worlds. We build intricate plots and characters, but sometimes forget to consider the world beyond our own. I know I've been guilty of this. That's why I love working with a writing coach. They help me hone my skills, find my voice, and most importantly, stay connected to the real world. It can be tough to face the blank page every morning, but that's where my coach has been invaluable. They offer encouragement, guidance, and constructive criticism, helping me refine my craft and achieve my writing goals. If you're feeling stuck, it might be time to invest in a writing coach. When researching for my novel, The Girl Who Drank the Moon, I needed to learn more about the Salem witch trials. So I visited the Peabody Essex Museum, where I saw an original copy of The Crucible. I learned about the trials, the accusations, the hysteria that gripped the town. But it wasn't just the facts that fascinated me. It was the emotions, the fear, the paranoia, the sense of community. Revisiting these feelings helped me write more authentic dialogue and create believable characters. Reading historical accounts is essential for any writer, but it's important not to get lost in the details. Try to look beyond the dates and statistics and remember that history is made up of people. People with hopes and dreams, fears and failures, just like us. Let's head back to the house for a final tour. This time, though, I want to talk about how sound can add depth to our historical explorations. The creak of floorboards, the ticking of a grandfather clock, the crackling of a fireplace, all of these sounds can transport us to another time and place. Now close your eyes and picture this. You're sitting in a dimly lit library. The scent of old books in the air when suddenly you hear the creak of floorboards. Your heart skips a beat, you turn toward the sound, and for a moment you feel as though you're not alone. Sound can evoke powerful emotions, and when used effectively, it can bring history to life. In my own writing, I try to incorporate sensory details that appeal to all five senses, but sound is especially important to me. The sounds of a place can tell us as much about its history as its architecture or its artifacts. The murmur of visitors in a museum, the laughter of children playing in a park, the rumble of traffic on a busy street. All of these sounds tell us something about the people who live there. By paying attention to the sounds around us, we can begin to understand the history of a place and the people who call it home. So the next time you need inspiration for your writing, why not take a tour through the past? Visit a historic house, explore a museum, or simply listen to the sounds of your everyday life. Who knows where your journey through time might take you? And if you'd like to join me on that journey, be sure to subscribe.